Welcome everyone to our year-end webinar for 2023. Everyone here should have gotten an email with our year-end instructions. We did make an update on those instructions, so if you printed it right away as soon as we sent that email, please check and make sure that it has 2 highlighted sections on the very first page. If it doesn't, that means that you have the old version of these instructions. So you'll need to check our website at jobcost.com under the news section to find these updated instructions. You may need to clear your cookies to see the new instructions. And if that still doesn't work, please contact us at support and we can send over the updated instructions. We will also be sending out an email soon. There's a revised 1099 NEC form that will require a visual contract update. So please be on the lookout for that email. Something new for 2023 is that all employers must file W-2s electronically with the federal government if you have over 10 employees. So you will need to register with what they call Business Services Online, or BSO, through the IRS website in order to file those electronically. And we have a link in our instructions that you can follow, and let us know if you have any trouble with that. So far, it seems like things are going okay with some of our customers. Another thing that's new for 2023 is that if you have to file 1095-C forms, if you are filing 10 or more of those forms, you are also required to file them electronically. And again, this is the same as last year. If you are required to report cost of employer-sponsored health coverage on the W-2 forms, we have instructions on how to enter those so that they show up on your W-2s, and you must do that prior to closing your payroll for 2023. So what we are going to do is go over these year-end instructions. And again, if you have any questions, please contact us at support@jobcost.com. So number one, we recommend that you review your last year's W-2, 1099, 1094, 1095-C files to refresh your memory. You may not need to report any special earnings, but if you have had to report group term life insurance, sick pay, auto pay, or any other special earnings, you will need to enter special time cards for those special earnings. If you're not sure whether something requires special reporting or not, please check with your accountant. Once you get instructions from your accountant, we can help you enter it into the payroll system. I'll be going over entering special items later on in the webinar. So we can move on to step 4, entering your last payroll of the calendar year of 2023. Actually, let me go back here. If you have group term life insurance, auto usage, and/or taxable third-party sick pay for 2023, and you have not been including those items in gross wages throughout the year, you need to do that by entering time cards before your last payroll or on your last payroll of 2023. The government requires you to report earnings based on the check date. So accordingly, your last payroll for 2023 must have the check date of 2023. Here in our instructions, we have an example of the last payroll of 2023. So in this example, pay periods end on Saturday, and the checks are dated on the following Thursday. The last day that you can have a check date in 2023 is on December 28th, which means that your last payroll will be date ending December 23rd. We have a year-end calendar checklist on page 3 of these instructions. And you can print out those reports and then close out the year when you are absolutely ready. And when you are sure that you will not have any payroll left in 2023. The last thing that you'll do when you're closing payroll is to zero out your employee year-to-date totals. And to do that, you go to Admin, Payroll, Year-End, and then here we have Backup Year-End Employees, zero year-to-date totals, and clear 1095-C information. Once you do that step, you cannot reverse it. We cannot undo that step. So if you need to enter any payroll, it has to be done before that last step. When you run that step, the employee file, the year-to-date totals, here, this is bad data, so I don't really have good numbers to show you, but all of these hours are zeroed out when you run that backup step. And it also will create an employee history file. So I haven't closed out for 2023, so you can see my only year is 2022. And if you forget, let's say which year you selected for your employee history file, you can always look in the upper right-hand corner and it will show you the year. In this case, for me, it's 2022. Once you have processed all of the payroll for 2023 and zeroed out the employee totals, you will then need to change your tax tables. We will be sending out an email for those tax tables as soon as we have them. So you can be on the lookout for that. To go and change the tax tables, you go to Admin, Payroll, Tax Tables, and then we have Federal as well as your state tax tables. So again, please make sure that you update both the federal and state tax tables before calculating checks for 2024. And again, we will send you an email once we have that information, and we will also post it on our website. For 1094, 1095C, please contact your accountant to find out if you will need to file those forms. And if you need to report them, please let us know. And I will cover more about that later in the webinar. The Illinois Department of Revenue requires electronic filing. So the W-2 report for Illinois does have to be electronic. You can create that report after you have done your backup and zero step for closing payroll for 2023. Once that is done, you can go to Reports, Payroll, Year End, and then W-2 electronic filing, or EFW2. You want to make sure that you select the correct year. When you run that backup step, it moves your current year forward 1 year. So your current year is going to be listed as 2024, and you will want to make sure that the year in the top column, you select 2023. You're going to enter the Social Security limit. And then when you say OK, it's going to create a file that you can then upload to the website. If you have not registered, or if you're going to upload this file for the first time, you'll have to go to this first link that we have on our instructions, the W-2 transmitter registration. The second link is to upload the file. And for Illinois, you will get 2 passwords. One is a test password, and the other is the production password. When you log in to upload the file, make sure you log in with the correct password. For example, if you only need to test your file to make sure that everything is correct, you cannot test it by logging in with the production password. You have to log in with your testing password to test, and the production password to upload your file. This third link here is the acknowledgement link. It takes about 12 to 24 hours for the acknowledgement to show once you have uploaded the file. And this last link has some answers to some frequently asked questions if you have any trouble. But you can also give us a call and we can see if we can help you out. Okay, so here we have our calendar year-end checklist. Once you are done with the last payroll of the year, please print these reports. And once you print all of these reports, number 6, we have here again to back up the year-end employees and 0 calendar year-to-date employee totals. Again, as a reminder, once you run that step, you cannot go back. Once you have zeroed out the year-to-date totals, you can then change the tax tables for federal and state, and you can enter your first payroll of 2024. Accounts payable and accounts receivable do not need to be closed the same time as payroll. Only if you are ready to close AP, AR, job cost, and GL, you can follow the steps on this checklist. Next, we have our fiscal year end checklist. The fiscal year could be the same as your calendar year, or it can be different. When you run the backup and zero step for payroll, it will only zero out the calendar year numbers. It does not clear out the fiscal year. So if we look again at our employee file, let's go to, we have our calendar year in one column and the fiscal year in another column. So if your fiscal year and calendar year are the same, you'll need to run the fiscal year closing out, zeroing out step as well. And again, that is under admin, payroll, year end, and this is the second option here, zero employees fiscal year totals. If your fiscal year and calendar year are different, you will only need to run the calendar year zero out step at the end of 2023, and then run the fiscal year step when your fiscal year ends. So next we have some instructions on how to enter special earnings. If you have entered time throughout the year to record these special earnings, you do not need to do this at the end of the year. If you have not recorded these earnings throughout the year, you will have to enter at the end of the year one time card to record those special earnings. Here we have on page 6 an example of entering cost of employer-sponsored health coverage. If you need to enter these special earnings, the first step is to make sure that you have a clearing account. Most of you will already have a miscellaneous or clearing account, but if you do not have one, you'll need to create one. So if we go to File, General Ledger, Accounts, I am going to search for clearing, and here is my sample clearing account in my demo data. You will also need to add a deduction if you don't have one already. So we're going to go to Admin, Payroll, Deductions, and I am going to search for cost of employer-sponsored health coverage. So when you create this deduction, or if you already have it, it could be a good idea to just make sure that everything looks good. You want to make sure that the GL account matches your clearing account. In this case, I have it as 124. The W-2 box should be 12, and the W-2 code is DD. If anything needs to be excluded, please make sure that you check any of the appropriate boxes. You can check with your accountant if you're not sure. Once that is set up, you will have to check your debit account under Admin, Payroll, Debit Accounts. Your clearing account should be listed in your debit table in order to use that account on your time card. And then please make sure that the rest of the account numbers are listed as well. This again is demo data, so it's not the best example for the other numbers, but you can see here under labor account, it's listed as 124, which is my clearing account. Now that we have everything set up correctly, we can add the deduction to the employee file on the employee deduction tab. So I'm going to go to payroll employees. Here. And deductions. Here I have the code for employee health. The type should be amount. Frequency is every. And then the amount that you need to deduct should be placed in the amount column. I'm just going to put in $7,000. If you're entering this only once, the maximum amount column will be the same number that you entered in the amount column. So that again should be $7,000. This will ensure that the deduction only takes place once because it will reach the maximum amount right away. We're going to leave the accumulated and year-to-date amount as 0. Okay, so I'm going to save. And next, we're going to enter a new time card for that employee. The union field should be blank. Day of the week is N for non-taxable. Start and end date should be the dates covered. So in this instance, I'm going to put in the whole year. The job and phase should also be blank. And then your GL account is your clearing account, which again for me is 124. In the non-tax amount, enter the cost of health coverage that you want to show on the W-2. There we go. So I'm going to save. And then you calculate checks like normal. Before you go to print, you want to make sure you go to review void checks. And we are going to make sure to zero out any state or federal amounts so that it comes with a net of $0. If you don't see the deduction, you'll have to manually add the deduction by clicking on this Add Deductions button. Select the correct one. There we go. Now we have a net of $0. Once your $0 check looks correct, you can then print your check like you normally would. After you have finished reviewing all of your reports and your payroll for the year, if everything looks correct, you are then ready to print your W-2s. The W-2 totals report should be reviewed before you actually print your W-2s, and it is a part of your calendar year checklist. So you should have that already, but if you've misplaced it or anything like that, you can always run it again. As a reminder, things have changed for 2023, and any company with more than 10 employees will have to file their W-2s electronically. This page on page 7 goes over how to print them to paper. And while I'm pretty sure that everyone on this call will file electronically, I'm going to go over the paper just in case. When you print your W-2 totals report, make sure that you select the correct year. Here's W-2 totals. So again, when you zero out your payroll, it moves your current year forward, which will be 2024. And when you select your year, it will be this top option. And when you select it, it grays out your current year so you can no longer change it. That's how you'll know you're in the correct spot. But since I haven't zeroed out, it's still showing as the current year of 2023 for me. You'll want to make sure you put in the correct Social Security limit and then click OK to run for all your employees. Whoops. That's way too much. There we go. Okay, so again, this is demo data, so I don't have the best examples here. But one thing to note is that this report shows wages for each state and local separately. So here we have Illinois. Actually, I'm going to run it for 2022. And I'm just going to put in the same number. Okay, here we go. So this first page is for Illinois. And there should have been another page for Indiana. If you have multiple states, it will show that as well as any local counties that you have. And on the last page of the report, it also tells you how many W-2s you are filing. So let's see if I can get a good number. Oh, here. It's because I closed out instead of going to the next page. So here, first page is for Illinois. Second page here we have for Indiana. Third page here is Lake County, which is in Indiana. And here I have my total number of W-2s, which is 16. So even with this small number of W-2s, I would need to file electronically. I'm going to pretend right now that I only have 9 W-2s, so I can show you how to print to a form just in case that applies to you. So before you print on a pre-printed form, we do suggest that you print to regular paper just to make sure that everything is aligned properly. So you're going to go to Reports, Payroll, Year End, and then W-2 form. Again, this is if you are printing to paper. You want to make sure you select your correct year. I'm going to select 2022. And this is what will appear when you print to paper. So again, we do recommend that you print the first page, at least for testing, just to a blank piece. Once it's printed, you can hold that paper up to the light with the pre-printed form behind it, just to make sure that everything is aligned correctly. We do our best to make sure that everything fits, but each printer can be different. So sometimes things aren't aligned exactly. So if any number is outside of a particular box or is on a line or anything else, please let us know and we can try to help. You can also print these forms multiple times if you need to. Just make sure, again, that you have the correct year selected while printing. For everyone else who needs to file electronically, you're just going to select the W-2 electronic filing like we went over before. Make sure you select your correct year, put in your correct social security limit, click OK, and it's going to create that file for you. If you're not sure exactly where it saves, it does show you a path. But if you're still having trouble, you can always give us a call. The 1095-C forms, again, another reminder, if you need to report 10 or more 1095-C forms, you are now required to file them electronically. The file itself can only be printed or created once you have zeroed out your payroll and an employee history file has been created. If we go to File Payroll, Employee History, I'm going to show you 2022. If we go to the Year-to-Date Totals tab, there are some boxes down here. If you need to print for a particular employee, you can see it's grayed out here, but then when we click this Print 1095-C option, all of the boxes are now available for us to edit. Then you can enter your correct codes and amounts. This first column here will apply to all 12 months, so you don't have to type them 12 times. But if something changes from January to February, you can easily change them one at a time as well. I'm going to put in an offer code of 1A in the all 12 months, and you can see it's filled it all the way through December, and it's also grayed out these boxes so I can no longer edit them. I'm going to put $20 here, and my second code I'm going to put in 2A. And again, we can see it's reached all the way through December for all of those boxes. Over on the right side, it will also show you a total for reference. If you have a large amount of 1095-C employees to report, we do have an option where you can export the data from Visual ContrAcct into an Excel file. This Excel file is something that we can share with you, so you will be able to modify and then import the file back into Visual ContrAcct so that you don't have to update each employee one at a time. If that's something that you need, please contact us in support, and we will install and set up the file and then show you how to import and export out of VC. When you are ready to import the file back into VC, you're going to go to File, Payroll, and then down at the very bottom is the 1095-C import. When you upload this file, it will then update all of the employee history records according to what you have entered into that Excel sheet. Once everything is ready, you can then print your 1095-C forms to paper, again, if you have less than 10 employees. For more than 10 employees, you will have to file electronically. If we go to Reports, Payroll, Year End, you can see we have here 1095-C forms. This is for paper. And then 1095-C is for electronic filing. And again, it will create a file, and that file is what you can upload onto the website. The rest of our instructions here have some helpful links, as well as due dates for all of the forms. One thing to note is that 2024 is a leap year. However, any due dates in February are on the 28th and not on the 29th. All of these links should be clickable. If you have any questions, or if they don't work, let us know. But this is the last page of our instructions, and so this concludes the 2023 year-end webinar. If you need any forms or have any questions, please contact us at support@jobcost.com, or you can always call into the office at 630-355-8188. Thank you for watching. Take care, everyone, and happy holidays.